Okay, should be set.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone. Today's November 10th for this pre-council workshop. It is 6:01 p.m. And today we are going to get an update on the UDOT Regional Transportation Plan. And I see that we have our city engineer Chuck Williams with us, as well as John Nepstead from Fair and Pierce. So Chuck, if you want to take it away. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming together tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, UDOT has undertaken to do a regional transportation plan for this portion of the state called the Moab Spanish Valley Regional Transportation Plan. And the city of Moab and Grand County are cost-sharing partners, relatively minor, but we're stakeholders in that effort. And per council's request, I've asked John, who's the project manager for Fair and Pierce, to give us an update on kind of where we've been, how we got here, and where we're going with the plan, and receive input from council. So with that, I'd like to turn it to John right now. He has a presentation, I believe.
Can everybody hear me okay? All right, just like my kids in school, thumbs up. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Mayor. Good to see everybody. Let me see if I can successfully share my screen. And Summer, I sent you the present, and Chuck, you both have it just in case.
You can see it, John.
Are you just seeing the screen or are you seeing the preview?
We're seeing the preview windows of your.
All right, let me swap. I think this should work. Is that better?
That's great.
Thank you. Bear with me on technology here. Okay, well, as Chuck said, we're maybe 3/4 of the way through this regional transportation plan, and it's the first time that we're aware of that UDOT and the partners are looking at something in the San Juan County all the way up to I-70 as far as a study area. Let me go into what we're trying to accomplish with this regional plan. I'm not going to read all these words. You can read that at your own will. And by the way, we have about a dozen slides or so is all. I know you have maybe 50 minutes for this. If you may allow, I might just go through the slides first, and then we can open up. We can certainly enjoy a discussion.
That's a great plan, John.
Okay,
that's great.
Good.
Yes.
All right, so here's what we're trying to accomplish. What I want to say in words and not in so much is make sure everybody understands what we're not trying to accomplish. This is not about arches, of course. That doesn't mean we're not coordinating with the National Park Service and arches. This isn't about a standalone transit plan or study, although transit's part of this. And this isn't just about US 191 down to San Juan, to Spanish Valley. It's all of those a little bit, but it's none of those are standalone elements of what we're trying to accomplish here. So let me go to the next slide. Chuck talked a little bit about the partners. As I just mentioned, San Juan's a player in this as well, as is Sitla. There's lots of Sitla land south of town, and they've been incredibly helpful and wealth of knowledge in terms of who owns what the plans are in Spanish Valley, what the access points are, et cetera, things like that. So a great partnership. We meet about every other week on a Zoom type call, and great collaboration. Here's our rough schedule. Had I showed this to you in March 12th, it would have been different. It would have been probably we'd be close to a final by now, but March 13th, as we all know, the world changed as far as how we conduct things, and it certainly impacted our work in terms of slowing things down. I would have been down there numerous times. I'd be there now in person, giving presentations, giving updates, but here we are. So we will get a draft out though this winter. When it says winter, that means 2020/21. We'll talk in a second here about the stakeholder group and what we've relied heavily on a stakeholder group, and we'll talk about who that is here in a sec. But this is the vision. We're going to talk about the vision and goals. We did a little exercise where we didn't do hours and hours of wordsmithing, or else I would have jumped out a window. But we did come up with this. And I think we think it's a pretty good vision for what we're trying to accomplish from a regional standpoint. And yeah,
John, sorry
yes,
to interrupt. I was going to ask, I'm only seeing about 90% of your slide because it seems to be so very large. I think if you could lower the size of the PowerPoint, and if others are seeing having the same problem.
are they? Chuck, I'm probably going to turn over. If I hit escape,
Yeah.
it goes back to slide sorter. So not sure how to do that.
I think that's okay though. I think it's worth it just to take a quick adjustment to try that. Yeah, so go to
Oh,
slideshow. There you go. Yeah, that's what you want to do, is just lower that.
did that help?
Now go back to slideshow.
I did.
We're not seeing it. Hit the slideshow.
Press
tab.
play. Play the slideshow.
There we go.
No. Did that do it?
No, click on most any slide, John.
Huh. I see the exact same thing I saw when I started.
Oh, sorry. But we weren't able to see your slides.
Weird. Well, we have plan B, don't we, Chuck? So we may want to go to plan B.
Let's try it. Go ahead and stop your screen. I'll share mine.
Okay. We anticipated this. Might be a problem.
Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Not quite yet.
No.
Okay.
We use Teams every day, and I don't use Zoom as much, so sorry about this.
No, it's not. It should be. One more time, then I'll. Now can you see it? Slideshow?
I can see your the individual slides.
Yeah,
How about that?
if you go to slideshow, yeah, we can see your screen, Chuck.
But Chuck, what we're seeing is just the main page of this
All
PowerPoint presentation, not
Yeah.
one slide at a time. Like I'm looking at several slides.
Oh,
I'm
there's the,
almost-
Okay.
I believe I'm almost there. Sorry. You were at this slide, I believe. Huh. I was there. Sorry.
I could maybe get my 10-year-olds or my 10-year-olds on Zoom all day, every day. So I can.
But are they on PowerPoint?
Good question. There you go. It's the PowerPoint's the issue. Summer, I sent it to you as well. Do you? Huh.
Chuck, what I'm seeing is one slide that says other questions with a hand.
Right. That's what I'm trying to get that to. I think I'm close here. My apologies.
No, mine.
Same thing, huh? There. Other questions?
Now we see the slides on the left-hand side with the main slide.
Okay.
And you're at the right slide, so maybe start show and see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get to that. It's there we go. Let's try this now.
there we go. Bingo.
Over there?
Up. Almost. It's not the whole screen though. Huh, that's all right. Weird.
Can you see it enough to understand it?
There we go. Yeah.
Sure.
Work with that? Okay.
Yep. Can you go up one slide, then Chuck back to slide 3, if you don't mind? Oh yeah, we've talked about the partners and how great Sitla's been. And schedule, vision, I think we were just done with talking about the schedule. And then the vision on slide 5. This is where we worked with the stakeholder group, came up with this. Let's talk about the goals, yeah. So again, I want to emphasize, and I'll do this throughout, is the regional nature of this. This is not, some of you are involved in the stakeholder group. This is not a tactical plan, like an individual sidewalk or small scale things. We're trying to make this regional in nature. But these are the goals we've come up with. Again, we did this in collaboration with with the stakeholder group down there. The very first one on the left says just I won't go through all these, but this is a little bit jargony, to be honest. The planning and project development. Hopefully, some of you are going, "What does that mean? What does that ever sound like bureaucratic jargon?" And you're kind of right. What it means is this is really for geared towards having UDOT as your partner with some of these larger projects. Again, this, if you'll remember, some of you were involved in the study we did with Kirk Thornock in Region 4 a few years ago, the bypass study. And I remember him leaving the meeting saying, we've got to get, we collectively as a community have to have a plan by which UDOT can support, but also you have good projects which we can then in turn select and go into our funding process. So planning and project development is another way of saying, let's make sure we have some good projects that UDOT can partner with us on and take those forward. So that is a goal of of many of these projects we're going to be talking about, is make sure that there's something that if on the state routes or even peripheral to the state routes that UDOT is supportive of. So that's a long way of explaining that bit of jargon. Other things, obviously connectivity is very important, but for all modes. Quality of life, that's a mouthful. I think if you ask 10 people what quality of life is, you'd get 11 answers. But I think we have a pretty good feel in terms of what that means for the community. Noise, sounds, smells, just this disruption of the why people go there in the first place. So that's a little bit on the fuzzy side, to be frank, but the other ones can be somewhat measured, and we're going to talk about how we're going to apply those. Next slide. So we have bi-weekly calls that are on that I can manage much better than I've managed this Zoom call tonight, and you can see the people who invited to the calls, and it's a great working group, to be honest. And obviously, Zachariah left the county a couple of months ago now, but Mila's stepped in, and again, great staff, great support. UDOT's there every meeting, great representation across the board. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is a continuous collaborative process with staff there. And then we do have our stakeholder group, and that's identified here. We relied on staff and you all to help us form this, and you can see it's pretty extensive and comprehensive from a geographic standpoint and representation standpoint. So we've had a couple, three, I can't remember if we had 2 or 3 meetings thus far, but it's gone very well. Unfortunately, it is via Zoom or Teams or what have you. But some of you have been involved in some of those meetings. Some highlights of those is the airport. Could you go back up, Chuck? Sorry. Andy's been everybody's been a great contributor, but it's been great to getting to know some new people, getting some fresh perspectives, such as Andy from the airport, and then the Spanish Valley folks and San Juan County people. So everybody's been very positive, very cooperative, and very solutions oriented. So hats off to all the stakeholders. Sorry, the next one, Chuck. So yes, I think you all want to know what we're producing and how this is going to look. So let's go through. We'll just kind of go through what we've been doing all this time. First thing is existing conditions, always the foundation of a good plan. Luckily, there's some good data out there from UDOT and from local sources, and we have some standalone documents. If anybody's like to see those, we're happy to share those. And you can see we have park visitation. We have luckily we have UDOT has these traffic counters placed throughout the state on strategic state routes, and there's one up by the park entrance on 191. So you can see that's been a great resource for getting some good traffic data. Our next effort has been we wanted to the supported model that's kind of jargony too, is the project criteria. That's really just focused on the left side. So we evaluated projects from a safety standpoint. Does it help with travel time? Does it help connect the community? And does it provide good accessibility? Then of course, active transportation is very important as well. So that's our criteria for the plan. And then the next slide. We also have a robust public engagement plan. Of course, that's been modified dramatically by COVID right now. But we're doing our best to get out there, and unfortunately, it's not a lot of it's almost no one-on-one since February when I was down there. But anyway, we're doing what we can to engage the community. Lisa, by the way, at the city has been fantastic. We've gotten to know each other pretty well. We have some similar roots in the Midwest, so it's been fun. It's always fun to talk to her, and she's been incredibly helpful. Another thing that was in the scope that's been, I think people found helpful, is let's look at the other. What are other people? What can we learn from other communities that are going through this love to death, so to speak? And Carly's heard that phrase a lot up in the Wasatch, but it happens all over the country, and it's been exacerbated recently with the visitation with the pandemic going on. And I do follow the traffic patterns there. UDOT has a website. I'm able to see what's going on, and yeah, it's getting hammered. But you're not alone. A lot of places are, and so we looked at about a half a dozen communities, and got some good lessons learned in terms of their similar gateway communities, and where they are in terms of a planning process. And believe me, everybody struggles with being a highly desirable place. You hear it no matter where you go: transportation, traffic, weekend traffic, second home ownership, workforce housing, and what it means for transportation. You see on the slide right here, Aspen, Colorado. No one who flips burgers lives in Aspen. They live somewhere else, and how they're getting back and forth is some good lessons learned. I think I've talked to some of you. I did a study up in Star Valley, south of Jackson, Wyoming, a few years ago, and the whole town, it's relatively affordable place, about 40 miles from Jackson. Every morning they call it the Jackson 500. Everybody leaves, and then at 5 o'clock, everybody comes back, and that's where the jobs are, but that's where they can afford to live. So we have a lot of the same phenomena here in the Spanish Valley, Moab area. And we've got some nice kind of a compendium of white papers of what's going on in each of these communities. Next, we've got So then we have, okay, we worked with the stakeholders. We developed, they came up with, in fact, the mayor was part of this meeting, a whole range of ideas. And by the way, it's not just specific projects, not necessarily everything's going to be a capital project. There may be, so we encourage people to think about policies and programs in addition to building stuff, because that makes the plan more robust, and not everything needs to be built to solve problems. So we've gone through that and narrowed down a nice long list. And we have right now a draft list that we're going to roll out to the stakeholders next week of about 20 to 25 projects and policies and plans. Some of these are further study needed. And then we're going to talk about those in a little bit here and a couple of slides later. Oops, we already talked about that. So related to that, though, is as many of you know, right now we do, as part of our outreach plan, we have a survey out. And again, thanks to Lisa, it's getting widespread using the social media and traditional media to get out there. Right now, as of this morning, we have about 145 respondents. And yeah, we can actually pull that up and not quite live, but we can see where people are. This is just one of the sample questions I thought this group would be interested in. And that is question 9. We have some of the bigger ideas. I'm not going to call these projects. These are I'll call them notions for right now. Looking at 191 frontage roads, adding capacity south of town down to Spanish Valley. Frontage roads, improved intersections, what have you, making that much more of a safer, higher speed, higher capacity, but yet safer. Having not, we counted the driveways connecting to 191 south of town. There are over 40 large and small driveways up and down the corridor, and every one represents a potential safety hazard. So by going to a frontage road system, a lot of those can be eliminated. So anyway, that's what that means. The bypass, we recognize this is a notion of contention, and we can come back and circle back about where we think that goes, if anywhere. That's fine. More bike projects, dynamic signage, meaning this is another idea we've come up with in terms of the list of projects. As you enter town or exit town, what lies ahead in terms of traffic and delays, et cetera. Transit feasibility study. Again, I mentioned earlier, it's not about a transit implementation. That may be happening possibly through your hotspots. I'm not 100% up to speed on that today, but at least a plan can recommend further studies, and that's what that means. And then smaller scale improvements. Should we do a signal at 300 North in Main Street, for example, or things like that? You can see where things are shaking out, which is kind of all over the place in a way. This is just a representation of just a snapshot of some of the ideas we're putting out there to the public, and we're going to roll out in front of the with the stakeholder group next Tuesday is our next meeting, the 17th. But I thought maybe really, let's see, we can go to next steps and we can come back to this if we want. We're going to look at the survey results. We're going to refine our project list. We have our stakeholder meeting, and we want to start putting our arms around this and looking to the goal line in terms of, okay, we've got a good list. We've got public input. We've got a great stakeholder group. We have staff involved. We have the political bodies up to speed, and let's at some point come back to you all with a draft document that we can put a ribbon on at some point this winter. So that's where we are, and we can go to I'm happy to answer questions and talk about the process, talk about our ideas, wherever you all want to go next.
That sounds great, John. Why don't we go ahead and unshare the screen and go back to the Brady Bunch view. And yeah, I'm sure that council members have comments or questions for you. Who would like to go first?
Well, I guess I will if nobody else wants to jump in.
Go for it, Mike.
So my question for you, John, is I did fill out the survey a few days ago.
Okay.
And the most interesting slide for me was the choice about where to spend $5 on 5 different projects or all on one.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I kind of spread my money around, but out of 143 responses, you had a chart up there, but I wasn't sure how to interpret it. So what did people say on that one?
Wait, is it possible to go back to that, Chuck? If not, I can pull it up on my screen.
Yeah, I can do that. And it wasn't showing very well the legend
Yeah,
there.
it was kind of fuzzy.
Chuck, why don't you just, or John, why don't you just verbally read off the responses as
Okay.
opposed to pulling?
I may,
Yeah.
okay.
How about that?
Yep, sure. Let me
Okay.
just pull it up on my computer then.
I took a screenshot of it. I could share it.
Now I've got it here. You know, it's interesting how a lot of people liked the dynamic signage. I was a little surprised by that. Smaller scale improvements is right up there in transit. Seem to be the big winners thus far. Of course, we're going to leave it open for at least another week, if not a little bit, maybe 10 more days. I can't remember the exact dates. But I guess my quick interpretation of that, given this snapshot, is people looks like they would like things kind of on the margin, you know, tactical things that are trying to play with the margins, not necessarily big things thus far, if that makes sense. So signage, you know, wayfind or variable message signs, that's not millions of dollars, that's hundreds of thousands, or it's thousands of dollars. Feasibility study, that's in the thousands.
Okay. Well, yeah,
So-
thank you, John. So I do have one other quick question, if I may,
Sure.
then I'll turn over the floor. So as you know, the bypass is a big deal.
Yep.
And as I recall, UDOT had 2 routes through town. One of them was behind the Mountain View subdivision. The only one that was less objectionable than the other one. And that one, well, let me cut this short.
Sure.
So my reaction to the whole thing is that the discussion about a bypass is moot. Okay, so from a city councilman's point of view, neither of those 2 routes is acceptable for anything remotely close to the amount of money that UDOT was talking about in the proposal. And the only way to make it acceptable, perhaps, would be to make the whole thing into one continuous tunnel from beginning to end, which would be talking, I would guess, about billions of dollars. So my question for you is anybody at UDOT or yourself talking about a very large, expensive project like that, or is it completely out of the question as far as you guys are concerned?
Well, I wouldn't say we really haven't talked like, okay, how big is too big, to be honest. I haven't talked with UDOT leadership about that at all. But what I can say is that when we talk about, let me just back up a little bit, sidestep your question just a touch. When we talk about this project, the one thing to think about is does the community want to put even a placeholder in this and for a bypass? Now, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and a line in a plan doesn't mean a lot until there are additional, more detailed studies. And when we left the bypass project and study, the next logical step would be, if the community even wants to continue forward, even thinking about it, would be to do an environmental impact statement of some sort, a NEPA effort. But even to do the point, I think UDOT left all of us with, Kirk and others probably at Region 4, was even to do an environmental study, we need to have this in and adopt the notion of it, the concept of it in the plan. It doesn't mean it has to be built. It's an opportunity for the community to say, we're not really sure, but much more detailed study is needed. Where does it begin? Where does it end? What does it look like? What does it cost? What are the impacts? What are the benefits? The thing that the previous study was scratching the surface on that, as far as all the requirements under NEPA. And so, to be honest, our notion was coming into this, if the community wants to leave it in there as a placeholder for further study, great. If it's DOA, that's fine too. But UDOT can't do anything more with it unless it's at least identified as a concept in the plan. And I think we all heard that loud and clear a couple of years ago. The mayor's shaking her; she remembers that. It was not quite a finger point, but it was pretty clear that had to be adopted by the local communities. UDOT's not going to come in and just do that on their own. They have plenty of other things to do. So I don't know if I didn't answer your question about how big is too big, because I don't know that as far as big size of a project.
Well, thank you for that.
So I don't know if anybody has an answer on that one.
Other comments or questions for John? Ronnie?
So I took the survey too, and I told other residents, it might take you 10 minutes. It probably took me 30 because I had a lot of comments. So thanks for putting those comment boxes in there. I guess I have some questions about process, particularly because we got a letter today about some concerned stakeholders about what they feel has been a lack of involvement for them so far. And so when I was doing the survey, I noticed there were specific questions about, sorry, let me just look on my other computer here. Frontage roads, a bypass, and the extended regional bike network were kind of given special attention. And I was just curious, since it sounds like the stakeholders haven't been that involved so far, who determined that those were 3 things to focus on?
Those were 3. It's a good question. Those are 3 illustrative things. We could have gone out. We could have gone out with a survey of saying, "Gosh, what do you think about transportation? What do you think about traffic?" Which is in there a little bit, but it's not really. That's not really attention getting. So we wanted to put some ideas in the survey as well. But as far as those ideas, I think, are you asking where'd the whole idea of a frontage road system come from, or where did or why did we pick those 3 to even talk about?
Right.
I think it was just to get people to keep the attention on the survey. Like I said, going out with an empty, what's the right phrase? Going out there with a survey without some ideas, some concepts to respond to, we just didn't think was going to be very effective. That we wanted some ideas, people to get the temperature of the community in terms of some larger scale ideas out there.
I guess I'd like to know, since the community's in the process of answering the survey, how long is the survey going to be up?
It's been up, I think.
I know it's been up. I just didn't know how much longer it would be up.
I through the end of this week at least.
And then, I guess I don't quite understand, how does one get to 60 to 75% through the process and only just have a survey now whose results haven't been integrated into the concepts? Like, can residents, I guess the residents I represent kind of wanted to know that if they take the time to do the survey, that the input they're giving is going to have a role in the plan. So what remains in this remaining 25% of this whole plan?
No, I think it's a very good, it's a legitimate question. So how we want to incorporate the results of the survey is we have a draft list of ideas of projects. It's draft. What we want to do is take that, get the temperature of the community and match that up against our list. And then the role of the stakeholders is to represent the community. We're not going to vote on have an open-ended survey on every project. That just we wouldn't get anywhere, I'm afraid. So we want the stakeholders to see the survey results of the people they represent, and then we would apply the community feeling, the community sentiment with our projects. And for example, back to, let's see, what's one of the projects out there that we're even kicking around? 4-laning 191 between Moab and Spanish Valley. If people say, no, we like it just the way it is, okay, we'll take that into consideration when we finalize our recommendations. So we're going to use the information in the survey input for sure. We're not doing it at the tail end of the process at all. But we wanted to have enough information internally, working with your stakeholders, to even put a survey out that was worthwhile.
John, it might be helpful to reiterate who the stakeholders are.
Yeah.
I'll say too that when I saw that we were 60% complete, that felt like to me like, wow, it feels like we still have a good bit of work to do. So I think that the comments that Ronnie's referring to from a couple of the stakeholders, I get what they're saying,
Okay.
because I just think that we met. It was a bit clunky, that exercise that we did online. Bill Jackson's here with us, and he participated in that as well. So I don't know if he agrees, but I think another meetup. But Ronnie, I do want to let you know there are community members on that stakeholders list as well, and maybe we could just flash that back up on the screen.
Yeah, I've got it on my screen, Chuck. I don't know if you're able to pull it up, but we've got the BLM, we've got Joe Kingsley, Zach Bastian, airport manager, Lacey Shumway, Forest Service, Workforce Services, Bill, Evan, Commissioner Clapper, in Waytech. We have the Highway Patrol, Elaine from the Travel Council, the staff I've just mentioned, your staff, Arches, Don O'Black and Neil Clark. We've got San Juan County Commission and staff, Sitla I mentioned, Nancy and Sean Campbell from Spanish Valley, and Ryan Holyoke from Spanish Valley, and state park representation. So that's that's roughly the stakeholder group. Then we have UDOT and some other folks. So that's
thanks for going through that list. Yeah. And then one other thing that I wanted to report back to the council as well from that meeting that we had was that while quality of life can be a nebulous, like you were saying in your presentation, we actually have done a pretty good job locally to kind of define what that means. And recently we've been having conversations around noise. And so
yes.
I do recall that in that meeting, that was actually one of the frequently repeated
Yes.
issues. And as it relates to UTVs, street legal UTVs, but also to the bypass and true fear of having a bypass as it would negatively impact noise, or I guess greatly increase the noise in residential neighborhoods, and how the group was definitely had a conversation about that.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
But again, that the stakeholder group was formed by staff, and it's nothing we cherry picked or anything like that at all.
But I guess what I'm saying is that, so this stakeholder group is going to take the results of this survey and then kind of work deeper into the plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so then process-wise, the council, what can council do to, is this the only point of of interaction that council members have, or, you know, what else, what other role does this council play in the creation of this
Sure.
transportation?
Yeah, well, the council again is represented on the stakeholder group by design. So Kaylin's on there, and the mayor, you're on there as well. So that's by design that the council represents. I mean, that you have representation. If you want us to come back, we can do this. We can do this. Sure, we can meet like this at as much as you
I
want.
think that that's just helpful for the council to hear sort of what their role is, and that
Yeah,
who's represented them. Their comments
Yeah.
can be sent. And
Absolutely. Yeah, it's set up to be representative, not not that you work through your representatives on the stakeholder group. That's the point. In fact, we even have I forget who asked for it, but a standalone document about the role of the stakeholders that they have all received, and how that whole process works. And happy to circulate that memo so you can see kind of the heart of the process that's been set up here.
And can I just ask another clarifying question? Because I think it would be helpful for all of us. So to me, the transportation plan feels like a basket. And in the basket are a lot of ideas, a lot of transportation ideas. And if an idea doesn't land in the basket, it's not going to happen. But the ideas that are in the basket might get plucked out, but there's no assurance that any one particular item that makes it in the basket is actually going to be applied, because
Right.
there's cost and capacity and all kinds of things.
Right.
So I think that's helpful for us to hear too, especially to make sure that the things that we do want to see are in the basket, for lack of a better metaphor.
No, that's a great way to put it. And Joel, I know you came down here from the Greater Wasatch Front, and if you look at these a typical regional transportation plan, there may be projects in there that have been in there forever. You go, are they ever going to do anything about this? And maybe not. It goes down, and then they might pick one out of the basket, so to speak, and say, let's do a deeper dive on this. And it could be the community doesn't want it, it's no longer needed. It could be the impacts are too great, the costs are too great, but at least it's a starting point for further analysis. And every project goes through that's in a regional plan. There's no guarantees, to your point, Mayor. That's a really good point. There's no guarantees. And maybe the next time I see you, I will have a slide that talks about the project development process from notion, what I call from notion to construction. It's not overnight, and it's not easy, and it takes a long time and a lot of factors at play. But it's people think, oh, it's in a plan, it's going to happen in a couple of weeks. There'll be survey flags in my yard any minute. No, these things can take a long time. But if it's not in there in the first place, there's nothing for the State Transportation Commission to say, we have no idea what they want. We have no idea. We don't even have a basket or for which to choose. How do we know? Where would we even start? And that's the point. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. Just because it's in here doesn't mean it's going to happen. But if it's not there, what are you going to do? What would you do as a policymaker at the state level or the national or the federal level? So thanks for that.
So then I guess Kaylin and I have the responsibility to bring a draft back to the council to make sure that it's checking boxes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm happy to do this
Kaylin,
again, like I said.
Okay. Kaylin, you have your...
Yeah. So sometimes with these planning processes, especially if they're driven by an outside interest and funder, sometimes we end up getting a kind of a sort of final product, and then we are left with the responsibility of adopting it or not, and sort of, but it's pretty final. And for instance, right now we have the downtown plan that was developed sort of in parallel with the original hotspot round of development. And we haven't adopted that yet, in part because it recommends as one of its top priority is advocate for a bypass. And so depending on what a plan looks like, it may be politically difficult for us to wholeheartedly embrace it if we don't have the ability to edit. And
Yeah.
and I realize I reviewed the role of the stakeholders, and that you're going for what we can live with as opposed to what everyone can agree on. But nevertheless, the city and county elected officials have more of a role in determining where this goes than the stakeholder body as a whole, which has only met twice. It's a great group of people, but their engagement is a little limited. So I guess my question is, like, will and this probably, I realize this is partly challenging because there are multiple legislative bodies that are party to this, and getting us to agree on something may not be feasible. But I guess I'm a little unclear on what the involvement of this body is in sort of the final draft.
Yeah. Do you mind if I go back to maybe what you were alluding to, maybe a couple of questions before? If I extract a couple of questions here about because I just want to zip those up a little bit, to be honest. One is a regional plan like this is not a one and done written in stone. These always, that's one, maybe the last sentence in this report, who knows, but if not, it'll be in there somewhere. These things need to be updated continuously. You know, there's no exact rule of thumb, every 3 years at a minimum, revisit where the community is, revisit where the traffic, the transportation conditions are, revisit where the growth is. So this is not this should be a dynamic, continuous process. And that's up to people after me to make sure that continues. So I think you were kind of asking about that a little bit. So I want to make sure that's clear. The other thing is, UDOT's helping out for sure from a monetary standpoint, and they certainly have some ideas in terms of the state route. But I don't consider them. I don't see anybody driving this. I think they really want to let the community go where they want it to go, and whether it's a bypass, not bypass, you know, that's really up to the community, or any project for that matter. I don't want to it's not just about the bypass. It's about whether there's a frontage road system on 191 in Grand County and San Juan County. That's, but so far the working group has been very much in favor of that. So and then as far as the role of the stakeholder group, again, they're advisory. Where they are, again, as I said before, they're to represent the community. So it's like direct democracy versus representative democracy. So it's their intent is to represent their various interests. Their job is also to talk to their network, if you recall, and I think it's probably in that memo, is use their network to bring those ideas back to the group. And yes, it's been a while since we met, and I'm guilty as charged on that one. It's been, the last meeting was clunky, trying to make sure when we do get together, that's worthwhile, that it works well. We have a focus of a reason to get together. So I hope so advisory, the not approval. We hope, again, they like the outcome. They don't have to love it, but I hope they can like it and live with it and move on. And they want to be involved in the next round and the next round, because these things, again, should be continuously updated. And I think UDOT certainly understands that, and maybe recommend having conversations with them for the next round. Make sure this is on their site, in their minds in terms of a cycle.
Thank you, John.
Sure.
Ronnie?
Mayor and Kaylin, I was going to ask you, since we're supposed to go through our stakeholders, can you guys report back to us and let us know, especially because this letter we got today is from 2 upstanding members of the community who, the city asked to serve on the stakeholder group. And if they're, unhappy or uncomfortable that we might end up with something that doesn't represent the community, can you please report back to us after checking in with them that, they're getting what they need to feel like, I understand the stakeholder group's just meeting one more time. So if possible, meet again. I figure you guys are just, the survey's still open. You might have a few days to look at survey results, then you're going to meet. I don't know how long your meeting is. And then maybe it's over and done. And that just makes me nervous as someone who received this letter.
John, I thought we were doing a check-in meeting and then we were going to have, I thought we had more than one meeting to go.
We've got the meeting in a week. Yeah, I think we'll do one more after that. So 2 more.
Okay.
But I think to answer,
And Bonnie, I suspect that comment will be brought up to the whole group as well. So I'm sure that their letter will be brought up to the whole group as well. And I'm sure it'll be addressed by,
And I'm sorry they feel that way. I don't know. I'm sure I'll find out who that is, but we've always left every meeting with, they're always welcome to reach out. And I haven't heard from them. So I'm sorry that wasn't clear that they can call me or Jeff at UDOT at any time.
Hey, John, how difficult would it be to extend that survey date and on your end for gathering all that data and putting it together?
Yeah, we can do that. We can certainly extend that out. And then when we report back to the stakeholder group, which has been scheduled, of course, it wouldn't be fully closed, which was our hope. Close the survey, have a meeting, but we can leave it open. It's probably not going to change dramatically after that point. So we can take a snapshot, just as I did today. We can take a snapshot where we are next week, see what the results are. So
Kaylin,
if that would help the community, we can certainly leave it open.
Kaylin, did you have a comment as well?
yeah, this is a little bit different. So at our, we did do that. The stakeholder group did do a map-based exercise identifying various issues, which I think maybe some people were a little challenged with the interface, but nevertheless, a lot of sort of granular feedback was given. And then the survey also asked people for places, forget the exact wording, like where they feel unsafe or, and so so it seems like there might be a bunch of like smaller potential things to work on that might be below the level of sort of the UDOT long-term project list, but will that make it into the final plan for the local governments to address?
It'll make it into, we're keeping track of all those. Will it be in this regional plan? We want to make sure these are regional projects. So what we're doing is we're saving those ideas, those smaller scale tactical, I'll call them tactical projects or notion solutions people have come up with. And those will go to Bill and Chuck, among others, at the city and the county to have in their hip pocket, assuming you do a local transportation master plan. So they'll be way ahead of the game by a lot of good ideas, courtesy of this process. They'll have lots of projects to include or whatever they choose to do with, get a big head start when they do your local transportation plan. So they're not going to go away. They're going different buckets or baskets.
Great, thanks.
Everyone, we just have 5 minutes before our regular meeting. So I just wanted to thank John for the information and just get any last final comment or question from anyone here before we take a quick break and resume for our regular meeting at 7. Any final words? Okay, well, thank you so much, John.
All right,
Summer,
thank you. Good to see everybody.
it's
Thanks,
good to
John.
see you too.
All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Summer, do we log out
Yes,
or do we just say again?
yes, we will log out. There's a separate one for the meeting.
That's what I thought. Okay. Well, everyone, I'll see you